When we were getting started, I was only like just starting to get into Drag Race, and Fionnuala was like, do you know what I'd love the podcast to be like? And like, I don't know if you've seen Trixie and Katya on YouTube. And I was like, I know Trixie, who the hell is Katya? Like looked it up and watched all of their like YouTube, like 86 episodes in a day. Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I can't say it, so I'm not even gonna try. But
it just sounds like we're groaning into the podcast. That's literally how it spells, like UNNN and H or something, like, oh, it's stunning. Yeah.
So that was like definitely a big one. And I think that like when you watch them back now, I do see like how we've kind of morphed into that, just two friends talking absolute dog shit sometimes.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Finnterviews. I'm your host Connor Finn, and this is a show where I get to chat to the most Finteresting people I know. This week, I was so excited to sit down for a chat with the wonderful Bríd and Fionnuala from Bandwagons podcast. Now, if you're not familiar with Bandwagons, you're very much about to be. With over 1 million downloads, the girls are easily one of the biggest names in the Irish podcast scene, publishing weekly episodes about the latest buzz in the world today and jumping on the bandwagon for some of the funniest chats you'll hear online. We spoke about the origins of bandwagons, with a friendship forged from a Fall Out Boy hoodie and Drag Race inspired banter, to traumas in the workplace, running sellout live shows, and what the future holds for bandwagons. Oh, this episode was such a pleasure to record. I cannot tell you how ecstatic I was whenever the girls got back to me and said they would be up for having a chat. Honestly, Bandwagons is one of my favourite podcasts out there, and I just getting a chance to actually speak to people that you're listening to all the time, just one of those wee dream come true ones. So you guys are going to hear me just cackling throughout because the girls are just absolutely hilarious and they've got some stellar stories up their sleeves. So without further ado, please enjoy this latest episode of Finnterviews with Bríd and Fionnuala, also known as Bandwagons. Well, welcome back to another episode of Finnterviews. On the show this week, I am very, very, very delighted to welcome onto the show Bríd and Fionnuala from Bandwagon. Do you know what? I pissed it up already. I'm so sorry. From Bandwagon podcast. How's it going, Bríd? How's it going, Fionnuala? I'm so sorry. I just hesitated and I fucked it up, but we're here now, so frig it.
Oh, I love it.
I'm just going to call you Colin for the rest of the interview now.
You put the
Thanks,
pressure
Colin.
on. I should have just went with whatever I thought. And oh, God.
No,
yeah.
Do you know what? I threw you off because I went on a big spiel beforehand about what we liked and didn't like to be called. So you know what? I'm going to take the blame for this. It wasn't you. It was me. Don't worry.
Oh, God. How are we getting on anyways? How's everybody keeping? Everybody's back in Dublin now. Sunny day. Yeah. And we're stuck online chatting. So thank you very much for coming on to the podcast.
Sun's absolutely belting in the window here and I'm in bed. No place I'd rather be, to be honest. Get me away from the outside world, truly. Like.
Oh my God, I know. I'm literally sitting here. There's like 3 windows and I'm trying to just like open them up, but without letting all the traffic noise come in. So I'm just like sweating it out. So if you see me, I'm not nervous. It's literally just the heat. Just No, that's not a word. I'm just getting heat up in this room.
You are nervous. We're incredibly intimidating. That's what we're trying to start that rumor now.
No, but I mean, first and foremost, guys, I like, in the off chance that somebody's come here and they don't know you or they find you from coming to me or anything like that, honestly, maybe do me a favor and introduce yourselves, like where you're from, what you're known for, your kind of background, because I'm already butchered your names. So I'll take the blunt off me. Maybe just kind of introduce what the podcast Bandwagons is about.
Yeah, well, I'll take this, I suppose. So me and Fionnuala are best friends. We met in college a good few years ago now. I've lost count. And we do a podcast called Bandwagons where we talk about all the other things that everyone else is talking about. I've fucked up the tagline as well. It's contagious. The tagline is talking about things that other people are talking about. I don't know what I said a minute ago.
That tagline, like, we just really wanted to start a podcast and we really wanted to talk about pop culture. And I was like, look, there has to be some kind of core thing to it. And so we came up with the idea of talking about bandwagons because we're wagons, play on words, love it, love to see it. And then essentially we were like, oh, talking about all the things that other people are talking about. And then as the podcast progressed, Bríd was like, I hate that.
We said it as a joke. We're like, what? There's our tagline now. Talking about things that other people are talking about, and we'd laugh, but then we just started putting it on like the branding and the merch and stuff, and now it's kind of stuck. So
but essentially it is. It's like if you were to look at the Twitter trending topics, that's what we do. We do podcasts on, no matter how flash in the pan it is or how late we are to the game. We just talk about shit that other people are talking about. Like we can diss it, Bríd, but it works. It absolutely works.
I mean, you're selling it. I'm buying it here. Do you know what I mean? So at least it must be working. It must be working at least. Like, but yeah, that's it. Because I was trying to like summarize, be like, right, how do I explain this to people that maybe don't know? And it's not even just kind of like, you know, latest TV shows or anything like this. Like, you guys have kind of like touched on loads of other different things. I mean, you do kind of little social campaigns. That's wanky of me. You do fucking huge social campaigns. Like, you just hit 1 million downloads. Congratulations. Like,
thank you.
And I mean, yeah, like I was even like just saying like the stuff that you guys have been like eating live shows and stuff like this. And I mean, and now you're on Finnterviews. So I mean, God, tick.
It's only up.
Done.
Truly, the only way is up. The only way is up.
But that's it. And I suppose like apart from doing the kind of podcast, and obviously you guys are both kind of in creative industries yourselves as well, isn't it? Fionnuala, writer, I'd like to say. I mean, I know you've done like the Love Island kind of podcast, like Pod and Paper, and then Bríd, you obviously a producer, freelance, media, that kind of stuff. Woman after my own heart. I may be trying to get your details afterwards because I don't
know how good they'll be, how good my details will be to you, to be honest. If I had the work, I'd keep it for myself.
Yeah, and we're just going to pause the interview. What the fuck?
Connor's like, well, this is a massive waste of time.
Yeah, I'm literally like, well, fuck this. No, but yeah, you guys both in your own right. I mean, successful in your creative, like, bits and pieces as well. Like, is that kind of where you originally met, you know, obviously in this kind of creative quarter? Or, like, how did it all, I suppose, like, start out? Like, when did you first get into this? Because it seems like you both have brought in, like, separate kind of things, but like separate kind of perspectives, but all within this kind of like, you actually do know what you're talking about, even though like you're normalizing it rather than trying to be like, well, la-di-da, like this is what I'm thinking, you know.
So we met in college. I was doing journalism, Bríd was doing Irish media, and we kind of loved the same things, whatever. Graduated, life goes on. I think Bríd spent a little bit of time at home and I kind of started working. I was doing a little bit of writing, kind of worked in radio then, kind of went back to writing, and then Bríd moved back up and we had the conversation where Bríd was getting really into podcasts. I was a bit late to the bandwagon in general, and Bríd really wanted to start one, and I wanted to do one, even though I didn't really listen to them that much. So I was like, fuck it, let's do it. We clearly have something here. Let's do it. Because it was just something like we really wanted to do. I suppose I didn't have that outlet. Because when did we start this? Was this what year?
November 2018. It launched December 2018.
Yeah, so I kind of just left one job in which I was doing a lot of like current affairsy stuff and got into another job which was kind of more features writing and stuff like that, more broad. But I was still looking for an outlet where I was like, oh, I could talk about things that, as I said, me and Bríd like pop culture, but as you said, broader than that as well, like horoscopes, like why people were really into astrology, things with social media, like specific music genres, whatever. And we just said, why not? Like, we didn't really have any expectations with it as a project. Exactly, yeah. And to be honest, what it's become never ceases to amaze me every day that I wake up and I'm like, this is a thing, this is a community, people genuinely listen, because it really did just start out as a passion project for the two of us.
Yeah. Even back like years ago when we first met in college, like we bonded because we first became friends because Fionnuala was wearing a Fall Out Boy hoodie, I think. And I was like big into All Time Low, and like we were both like still kind of in our emo phases, but no one else around us was. So we bonded over that.
I'm still in one. I was never
It wasn't a phase. It was never a phase.
It was not a phase, Mom. It was never a phase.
And then we like got into like the Media Production Society, and we did like our own version of The Apprentice and Would I Lie to You and Nevermind the Buzzcocks and things like that. Like, so it's kind of just been a natural progression that we've always kind of wanted to do something along these lines, and this just kind of made the most sense.
Yeah, I forgot that we've always collaboratively collaboratively kind of worked on content. And then this definitely was just a natural progression, as you said.
Yeah, I suppose I feel like it's one of those things as well, like whenever you're working, like both of you in this kind of creative industries, you're always kind of like going from, you know, one project to another, but it's not until you kind of like, you kind of put on your own personal interest almost on the back burner for a bit. And I suppose it's not until like you guys, as you said, you know, kind of pursued this into, like went into this and went, fuck it, we're going to do what we want to talk about. And then that's kind of when like you realize, why didn't we do this earlier? Or like, do you know what I mean? Like, it makes so much sense. Like, I suppose that's what really attracted me to yourselves whenever I first started listening, that it just, you were able to kind of just like grasp this, like, you know, even like you were talking about, like your latest one came out there, WandaVision, you guys were like, yeah, I didn't really like know if this what was happening on it, like blah blah. But like it wasn't just, you know, one of those other like film or TV podcasts where people are trying to be like, I have a master's in this, and do you know what I mean? Like theirs are like the 5, you know, areas of film language, stuff like this. Your guys are just breaking it down, and it's kind of like listen to like mates literally just having a real normal conversation, but like also bringing into everything else. Like, do you know what I mean? Like everybody has a day job, everybody just, you know, has their own wee bits and pieces that they're doing in life. Like it's not just pure like, well, here is my educated perspective. Like you have a bit of crack of it, whilst also not just talking shite, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's what we always wanted to do, and that's, I think, the whole like idea around what is and what isn't a bandwagon. You know what I mean? Like we wanted it to be accessible for people who, and kind of give people the option to like, are you getting on this or are you not? Like, is this something you'd be interested in or potentially not? Like, and I think now more than ever, I really see it as a learning experience as well. I'm sure Bríd will attest to this, that like sometimes I can get really fucking pernickety about what we cover or how we cover things, because maybe we won't have covered all angles, or maybe it's something that we don't necessarily know. But like, I've gotten to a point now where I realize that that's not really why people listen. Like, I guess we're an access point or an entrance point for some people to a specific topic or whatever. But like, we really are not the experts, and we're willing to learn from the audience and just have a bit of crack and just give opinions. Like, nobody's coming to us looking to have all the answers. Like, and that's the thing. I think I kind of had a way more haughty view of what Bandwagons was, but as we've gone on, I've realized that, you know what, we're a bit of crack. You might learn something and you might not, and that's okay. As long as someone laughed, who cares really? Like,
exactly, you're winning. Like
yeah, even some of our early episodes, like we tried to do something, oh, the dog's barking, tried to do something for everyone. Like, I think our 3rd episode is the Super Bowl, and we were like, oh, like, well, all we really know is this is halftime acts, but like not everyone, some people might actually be interested in the sport, so let's try cover that, even though we genuinely have no interest in it. And I think you can that shows, like, and as it's evolved, we just kind of hone in on the things that interest us, and if we're interested, it comes across that way. I think the content you want to hear, like.
Yeah, it kind of like, as well, it seemed to like build up such a community as well. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, when, like, it feels like it literally is like what you guys have explained. They're like, it's created more of like a chat, like more of a community, more like just like you're hearing your mates, like just talking about what literally is ever popping up at the time. But I suppose like whenever I was like, you know, first coming into contact with you and stuff like this, as like, trying to just like get the feel of like who the big podcasters were in Dublin, and like your names just kept coming back up. But like, I suppose like whenever like you were saying, Fionnuala, like you didn't really like have a whole lot of like kind of experience with podcasts or stuff like this beforehand, but maybe like was there ever like any inspiration behind the kind of like thing that you wanted to make, like, or any particular influences? Because imagine, Bríd, maybe you had like a bit of like you know, maybe you were listening to like loads of people as well, and this was kind of like we can fucking do it better, I know you.
The only people that I like actively, well, I will say I've like broadened my palette now, but at the time I exclusively listened, because I'm really not a true crime gal. It's just I can't. But I love a good like dishy kind of celebrity pop culture podcast, obviously, because that's essentially what we are. So like, I mean, Who Weekly for me is and always will be like god tier celebrity pop culture podcast. It's hosted by Lindsay and Bobby over in the States. Lindsay Weber and Bobby Finger, and they're like pop culture journalists, and they basically categorize celebrities as who's or thems, and kind of look at celebrity culture. So like your thems would be, your Brad Pitts, like the ones you know, like full pure written name recognition, and then the Who's are like people who desperately want to be famous but like just can't get that name recognition. So like Rita Ora is their like queen of the Who's, you know, because she wouldn't be that big in the States, or like shouldn't be as big in the States. But the way they just did things, I thought, was like so funny while still being kind of very analytical and very critical. I thought not critical in the sense of like dunking on someone, but just in like really looking at something and kind of picking it apart. I love that. I really love getting into things and thinking about them from a different way. And I think that's a great thing about working with Bríd, because quite often we have very different perspectives on things. But like she helps me see things in ways that, to be honest, I never would have unless we talk about these things, you know?
Yeah,
I'm sure Bríd has a million other examples, an example list down the length of her arm.
Not a podcast at the time, but I remember like at the start, I don't know if you watched Drag Race, Connor, but I was just dipping my toe into
Yeah, nice try. Yeah. Just when you said read it or there as well, I was about to be like, sorry, did you guys see the whole thing with like the latest episode of Drag Race where they have to get a mannequin out because read it or? I was just like topical. Oh my god.
I think it was, do you know what? Because I think whenever they filmed it, I think it was around the time that she was getting cancelled for having that birthday party.
Yeah.
Oh, probably.
I think she was like, I pretend I do not see it, and was just like, because they're trying to say it was some issue with her entourage, but like she just definitely didn't want to be any more exposed when she was already getting like massively and rightfully criticized. But yeah. Mickey was better in it. So.
I love that they literally go like mannequin, like not just like not just that like 3 is enough. Yeah, we'll just like chuck somebody on the side and just won't address like the literal mannequin in the room. Like what the fuck? Like
or get the actual Danny Dyer. Like definitely would have.
Oh, imagine I wish actual Danny Dyer had done it. Oh, can you imagine?
But,
I don't know.
Anyway, you're saying like Drag Race.
When we were getting started, I was only like just starting to get into Drag Race, and Fionnuala was like, "Do you know what I'd love the podcast to be like?" And like, I don't know if you've seen Trixie and Katya on YouTube, and I was like, I know Trixie. Who the hell is Katya? Like, looked it up and watched all of their like YouTube 86 episodes in a day. Yeah,
is that what it is?
Yeah. I can't say it, so I'm not going to try. But
just sounds like we're groaning into the podcast. That's literally how it spells. Like UNNN and H or something. Like, oh, it's stunning. Yeah.
So that was like definitely a big one, and I think that like when you watch them back now, I do see like how we've kind of morphed into that, just two friends talking absolute dog shit sometimes, but we find ourselves funny, and that's all that matters, and that's very like reflective of what they do. And then I was like massively into My Favorite Murder. And I loved how the two of them were like, they weren't best friends, and they were nearly kind of bickering on the podcast in the early days, but they were like, they had such clashing views that like everyone was kind of learning from it. And I was like, we can do this better because we already know what the other person's thinking. Like, and then more recently I've gotten into Chris Ramsey and his wife have a podcast called Shag, Married, Annoyed. They're a married couple. He's a comedian and she's a content creator. And they're just like, it's shown me like how popular just the informal conversations can be. And just literally the two of them could talk about what they did for the week in lockdown for an hour. And people, it'll be number one in the charts every single week. And they talk about just crap, like, and it's just people being themselves. So I take a lot of inspiration from them as well.
Yeah, it's funny, I didn't notice either of you mentioned Finnterviews, but that's fine. I guess, do you know what I mean? Room to learn. It's uncultured.
And Finnterviews, oh my God.
Stop.
So I really like the host. I can't remember his name. I think it's Colin. But
some prick, I know.
He's really good. Yeah, really bright talent there.
Some wee naughty bastard, yeah. No, but like, I think that's legit as well. Like, I mean, all the ones that you were kind of mentioned about, like, that's what, like, it's even funny when you were talking about like the saddy stuff that you did in school, like doing, you know, like mock-up TV shows. Me and my friend, like, I remember when I was talking to her about like doing this podcast as well. I was really kind of like, we used to do like a little TV show like thing, like just as a project in uni, but we literally did it's like, hi, my name's like Connor, and like, or blah blah blah, like, you know, and I need like my back shift, like I need my back shift, Connor, blah blah. I can't. Sorry, for anybody who doesn't know what like Or watches.
sounds
They're
so
like,
strange.
what the fuck
Yeah.
is? Yeah, yeah. Or like, I'm the dead like toenail behind your door. Like,
Yeah, I'm a
yeah.
mountain biking unicorn witch from the future, or whatever the one is. It's the
But
same
yeah, but I remember like even stuff like that. Like it's hilarious that obviously everybody's just pulling from the same influences of just like people having the crack out there and just being able to like just have. I feel like there's a difference between talking and actually saying something, but you guys really seem to merge the two. Whether when me and my friend were talking about doing podcasts, I was like, honestly, like I think I need to talk to more interesting people first. Like, not that she wasn't interested, but just like I can't, like, I'll just talk absolute bollocks. So this is my like cop out, being like, I can't just chat to my friend and make it entertaining. I need to chat to other people that are already doing something, because that just takes weight off my shoulders. So you guys are doing all the hard work. I'm doing the easy work. It's fine.
Happy to.
Yeah. But I suppose, like, as well from this, I mean, you just haven't always been doing, you know, podcasts and working in creative industries. And I think it's always really interesting when, you know, you kind of discover behind the people behind, you know, the chat and whatever like this. And maybe, I don't know, like, did you maybe have like many like character building jobs growing up? I can imagine you might have done that, maybe like inform the people you are today, because I feel like just the crack that you're able to do and, you know, pulling similarities out of areas. I don't know, it's always kind of interesting when you find out, you know, big presenters or different like comedians, stuff like this. They're like, oh yeah, no, like the only reason I'm here today and I can actually chat to people is because I like worked in a strawberry farm or stuff like this. I don't know if you've had many of those experiences growing up that maybe helped the kind of content that you're able to get with. I'm sorry, I'm seeing smiles come from both of you, so I know Daphne has got something.
I'll let Brie go first.
I'm trying to think. I've had so many jobs. I hate traditional jobs. Like I can't. I hate working for the man. But I worked in my first proper job was working in a hotel in Gorey for not even that long. It felt like years, but it was like my first job when I was in college, and I worked there on the weekends. And I still genuinely have nightmares about it to this day. It was the worst job. Like, it was just the most high pressure job.
What were you doing in it?
I was like on a coffee dock. I was literally like, I was just a waitress. Like,
yeah.
I used to tell people I was a barista, but I was not. Like,
so I'm just bringing up your trauma. I can see the, you know,
genuinely,
this is free therapy for her. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But I used to be such a perfectionist, and then when I started that job, and I was really bad at it, and it was just really hard to be good at it. I think that kind of broke me a bit, and I've been kind of on a slight decline ever since. But I genuinely, I used to just have to be everywhere at all times, and it just stressed me out so much. But when I think about it now, because obviously I still go into that hotel and see it a good bit and see people I used to work with and all, and I'm like, what did you get from it? Because every job has led me on to a better job that's led me on to like telly work, even if it had nothing to do with telly. And it's like that job, people, all sorts of people would just have to come up, and you'd have to talk to them like you were the only one there, and you'd have to just make conversation as you were making their coffee or putting their scones or whatever. You're just literally having to keep talking. I think that's absolutely stood to me, and yeah, definitely develop those skills.
So I think I had probably the opposite experience in that I used to work as a hotel housekeeper. I worked in 2 different hotels over 3 summers, and it was my first proper full-time job, because at that point I had, what else had I done? I'd like worked in I'd worked at my dad's company and cleaned there, but that was like a really pissy job. It was like an hour a week because anyway. So this is like my first job, and like it was during the summer, so like it would be really busy, like really tough. And I remember the second summer when I got my own trolley, it was like I had achieved it all. I was big swinging dick going through those halls. I didn't have to borrow anyone else's trolley. I could keep whatever I wanted on my trolley. And it was like incredibly tough work. And I was working for like a 4 and a 5-star hotel. So obviously the standard was so high, and I'm, as Bríd will attest to, not very tidy and not massive on perfection when it comes to cleaning. So I learned a lot from that, but on the same level, this was a job where I would go 8 hours without speaking to anyone, because if you were housekeeping, it was like, you do not speak to the guests.
Don't look them in the eye.
You do not even look at them. You are not there. You are the scum of the earth in that hotel ecosystem. Which I was delighted. The less people I got to talk to, the better. I just carried on pushing my trolley. But I loved it, but it was so hard. And I think, to be honest, it just like, there's no better feeling than kind of earning your own money and knowing you worked hard for something and going home with that paycheck at like the end of the week or whatever. That's where I got that like work hard, play hard kind of attitude. Like I'd be the first to admit, like I'm obsessed with making money, and I think that's where I got it from. Sometimes I'm like, oh, could I go back and do it again? Could I live my best Jennifer Lopez life and just continue to clean rooms? Probably not. I'm nowhere near fit enough for it anymore. But
No,
yeah, definitely an interesting one for sure.
I mean, you want to have that, you know, like Pretty Woman walking in, like, big mistake, huge. Yeah, like, you know, you can't go back down the ladder. God, like, yeah, that's literally what I talk to everybody about. Their, like, I mean, I've just worked, like, we literally did pick strawberries when we were younger. And then I remember my, like, step up from that was, like, getting into Domino's and being like, oh, guys, I got to work indoors. Like, so everything up from there, I feel like, but, like, each of these kind of, like, roles, it's just interesting, like, find out where people are kind of, you know, stem from, like, where they kind of get, like, come from, because I feel like you need to go through, like, just some wanky jobs to actually get to be like, okay, like, yeah, I think I have, like, something to contribute to this, because there's nothing worse than chatting to somebody and then be like, oh yeah, blah, blah, like, I used to do this, and they're like, oh, like, I just didn't need to do any of that. It's like, just really handy. It's like, you haven't lived, man. You haven't suffered.
There's a lot of nepotism really in me. You need to suffer. A lot of nepotism a lot of nepotism in media, a lot of helping hands up the ladder sometimes, but no, some of us had to make beds and make coffees, and we got there in the end.
Exactly, yeah. And now we chat to each other on the internet. So who's laughing now? Ha!
Truly.
But yeah, I suppose you were both just saying there about, you know, the different character building jobs that, like, I feel, especially as you were saying, you need, like, media is such, like, you know, helping somebody up, like, kind of like, you know, you're seeing all these, like, things being like, how do you get in, or, you know, somebody knows somebody else, whatever, like this. But, like, it's the people that show a little bit of grit, do you know what I mean, that have got, like, a little more to add to it. So I'm delighted you guys as well, you know, we've all been through equal traumas in our life, do you know what I mean? I mean, I say mine probably doesn't haunt me as much as night as it does for Bríd there, but, like, but yeah, definitely still get, like, fear, you know, whenever, like, I don't know if you sometimes have nightmares, you're like, forgotten order, oh my god.
Yeah. Do you eat strawberries still, or is it like one of those things where you just can't eat them anymore?
No, it fucking ruined me for years. Like, literally, like, and it's our family one as well. Like, we would have done them for, like, the graduations and stuff like this. So I used to be loving strawberry jam. I was like just a wee freak of a child. I used to not like any other sandwiches other than, like, my mum's own, like, strawberry jam. Don't know why I'm doing that accent. That's not how she sounds. But yeah, like, and for years that's all I was eating, and second for about 10 years after that, and I'm literally only getting back onto it now. But, like, I think I was the one thing as well, like, any place I've worked in, like, I haven't ever went back into it. After I left, like, Domino's, never went back to it. After I left, like, this cafe job for 3 years, I feel like once it's kind of gone, I'm like, I can never go back. Yeah. So that's why I ran down to Dublin.
I can never return.
Yeah. I mean, I basically, you know, covered most of the north anyway. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to have to come down here. I'm on too many black books. Yeah. But I suppose, you know, from all the traumas and stuff like this as well, like, have there been any, you know, major standout moments, I guess, that, like, have came from, you know, doing the podcast, following these passion projects, and like, I mean, especially, like, as I kind of mentioned earlier, like, you've had live shows, you've ran, like, social campaigns with, you know, World Vision Ireland, Science Foundation Ireland, Diageo and Nivea. I have all these written down.
Did you find these stats?
Oh God, I tell you, I research. But, like, do you know what I mean? Like, have there been any major standout things that, like, I suppose from starting this that you never thought could have happened otherwise, or is kind of just like, you know, the fact that you're kind of like, we are just two mates chatting on the internet and people seem to enjoy it, and you know what I mean? With Patreon and everything else, you're like, every kind of bit is a bit of a standout moment. I don't know. Have you had any, like, major pinch me bits?
With regards to the people that we've collaborated and stuff, like, I really look back fondly on the work that we did with World Vision Ireland, and even most recently with Article 19 about fake news and stuff and food sustainability. Like, I love looking back on them because they were, like, such good pieces of work and we got such good feedback. We always mention the live shows as well. Like, that's that's really like a pure example of like actually seeing, because it's so hard to visualize an audience because this is not a visual medium. And it's hard to like put it tangibly how many people listen or how many people engage with us in whatever way. And then to physically see that and to have the response of them laughing at a joke or singing back a song.
Or even just like how fast they buy tickets is insane.
Yeah.
Like
Or
it's genuinely,
merch or anything. It's it's really
Obsessed.
That's something that I'm so grateful for that. And particularly with the live shows, I miss doing them so much, and fingers crossed we'll be back to them the end of this year.
Yeah. And it's, I suppose probably same with yourself, Bríd, is it? Or
yeah, definitely the live shows were always something we had like we were aspiring to, but then to actually get to do them within a year of starting the podcast, we had sold out 2 shows at the Dublin Podcast Festival. I think it was literally on the week of the year. So that was we never thought it would happen as quickly as it did. And then just certain people we've gotten to meet, like we've got like a whole little internet family, like it's and like people we've got to interview, and I'm trying to think of cool people. Like Tony Cantwell is a friend of ours now because I think he asked could he come on, and now he's just like Uncle Tony that is just like
friend of the show. Oh my god,
friend of the show.
Truly,
Marty Guilfoyle, friend of the pod. Like just these cool people that were always on my radar, but like never had anything to talk to them about.
Yeah.
And just having a platform to like reach out to people and be like Jessica from Married at First Sight. Like,
oh, sorry, I was walking into
to talk to her.
I was walking in town the other day, and again, I was kind of like similarly like just listen to yourselves. And whenever I was just like, I think it's like one of those things, like it's similar to why I started this podcast, because I was just like, I just want to fucking talk to people that I'm like interested in.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? And then whenever you find people like that, like listen to you guys chatting to her from like Married at First Sight Australia, like just it's I think those are the best like moments as well. And you guys, you guys have just had some fucking cracker of ones like that. I'm just being like, someday.
Yeah, but that's it. Like Alaska, we interviewed Alaska from Drag Race. Literally on a whim, we emailed, I think, Victoria's Secret, and we're like, who can you put us in touch with? Because she's another friend of the pod. But like, we never thought that would happen, and it's always just been us chancing our arm. And then like people rarely, well, like the worst they can say is no, and we always say that. So just having those opportunities.
You're lost.
Or they can leave us on red. Yeah, that's worse than them saying no. Looking at you, Paul Mescal. He got very famous, so in fairness.
Well, I was going to say, like, is there anybody that, like, do you know what I mean, you're still, like, that's, like, on there to be like, oh, they're, like, a need to get, like, on the show, or, like, anybody that you're, like, one day we're going to get, like, you know,
Davina McCall.
Meryl Streep.
We've always said Davina McCall. She said some problematic things in the last week or so that I'm a bit like less bothered. But she would have been one purely from like a reality TV perspective.
Yeah.
If we were just to talk to her about that and not give her opinion on anything else, then maybe. I'm trying to think who else. Would you have anyone else, Bríd, off the top of your head?
I said Ant and Dec once, and you shot me down. But I just think
and now I actually think I would allow Antoinette, because I've got very back.
I would allow Antoinette on my podcast.
Saturday Night Takeaway is devastatingly emotional television. Oh my
so
god.
Good.
They have whatever about it. They're like this year they're like giving away holidays to like all these frontline workers, but they're like surprising them all on Skype. And last week there was this woman that got it, and she was like so excited that she took her weave off.
I saw her live,
like,
yeah.
Swinging it around and then putting it back on. And Ant and Dec were laughing so much that they could barely get through the next link. But it was just like, where is? And then the next I was crying. It was just there's so much. I would have them on. Trixie Mattel, I'm into in a big way now. I'm comfort watching a lot.
That's what my housemates are like. If you can get us as close as possible to Trixie Mattel, that's all we'll ever ask of you. And I'm like, Trixie wants nothing to do with the fans, so
there's a lot of drag people. I'm trying to think who Ella Henderson is one that we're always constantly doing call outs for.
Oh, right.
Queen of our hearts.
We put the request into Warner, we're just waiting to hear back.
Yeah, truly, yeah.
Manifesting. It's fine. It's already out there in the universe. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's hilarious that, like, even, you know, like you guys, like, I was so like going to be like, oh fuck, I'm gonna be chatting to the girls from Bandwagons. Like, do you know what I mean? Whenever like you guys are still, you know, it's funny to see everybody else is still in that like sphere of like, I just want to talk to this person, or I want to talk to this one, blah, blah, like this. Like, it was it was so funny. This was literally just like for me, whenever I just did the podcast, I reached out to Sinead O'Carroll from Bewitched.
Oh, yes.
No, I thought, I was like, this is going to be the biggest thing that I'm ever going to do. Nobody else was excited by it. Everybody's been like, oh yeah, like Bewitched, okay, whatever, like this. When I say, at the time of my life, this woman must have been like, who is this child I'm talking to? And I was just like C'est la vie was just such a big part of my life. So now, do you know what I mean? Like, I've already got that one off. I feel like once you start getting there, then it's the big hitters. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then they start rolling, and they start getting in contact with you. Yeah, basically.
Literally.
Yeah. But I suppose on the opposite end of the scale, like, it seems like you guys have just been having the fucking crack of it. But have there actually been, like, maybe this is a shite question to ask, but like any kind of major horror stories that came from like working in this, you know, public sphere? Is there, you know, as I said, like you have to have a huge community, but has there been any kind of like backlash? Like, I don't know, maybe it's just like an Irish thing, like coming home and people be like, oh, notions on these ones, oh, just because they got the podcast going. Because I swear to God, I fucking do this one, and I once literally, like, as soon as I started like putting up, you know, when you do a post on Instagram, you put it on your story and it's like new poster be like, oh, Connor's an influencer and stuff like this, and I'm like, go fuck yourself, guys. But I mean, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure people at home definitely think that about me, but as long as they're not saying it to my face, I do not care.
Don't pay your bills, don't pay in no time. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Oh,
No, like I think we're incredibly lucky with what we've done now and the fact that we don't take ourselves seriously. And I think again that's why Bríd compliments me so much, in that like she is the one who is like, you need to, as much as I'm like, I can be like, right, we need to stay in our own lane. I'm not very good at taking that advice sometimes. And Bríd is very like, don't take this too seriously. Like, it's fine. We're allowed to say this. We're allowed to joke about this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So from a podcast perspective, no, again, I think we've been really lucky in terms of that kind of criticism. In terms of like horror stories from working, I worked at an unnamed publication early in the start of my career as in like an internship, and was paid very little money, but was essentially working full time for them. And this was like this was around the time like a lot some of my friends were still in college and turning 21 or whatever. So I was like doing this job, and I remember just having to work like the most insane shifts. So, well, like not insane for me yet, but like insane for the money that I was. I think I was getting like 50 euro a week or something, and I was doing like 3-4 full-time shifts a week.
Jesus.
Yeah. So there was one time, and they were like, it was impossible to get stuff off because I was the intern. So I tried to book my friend's 21st off, couldn't get it off. So I basically had to work from like a cupboard in her house, writing celebrity stories, writing about like Pippa having a baby or Pippa wearing, no offense to Pippa, this is not shout out to Pippa because she helped me a lot in that job.
Yeah, she's a big listener.
About, like,
yeah,
exactly. I'm sure she is. Writing about Pippa wearing something, whatever. Like,
Middleton or O'Connor?
Sorry, Pip O'Connor, not Pippa Middleton.
Oh, I was like Middleton there. I was like, wow.
So Pip O'Connor could listen to this.
Yeah.
But this was like you had to write about like these kind of certain things because the job was like very traffic and like hits driven as well, and we had like very high targets. So I was trying to write this and like pre-drink at the same time and like talk to people who were coming in who traveled from wherever to Galway. I was after traveling up myself. My friend was coming up from Cork to join me, and I couldn't really speak to him because I was working on shift until like 11 o'clock. And at that point, sure, everyone was like rode off, and then we had to go to the club. Like it was ridiculous. And I did that for, I think I ended up doing it for like maybe 2 or 3
years.
No, sorry. It was like, 2 or 3 years. Sorry, I think it ended up being like, I'm still here now. Loves it. Coming to you from the cupboard. No, I think I was actually there for like 6 or 7 months, and then I got a different job. But that was another character building one. But yeah, just that kind of shit at the start of people like giving an inch, taking a mile. But it did kind of teach me to know my work, and also that I can work under incredibly strenuous circumstances.
I suppose. And what about yourself, Brie? I mean, not to drag up past traumas like or anything like this, but like I suppose, yeah, like
you love dragging up past traumas.
Oh, I do. Adore it. Oh, me or are you?
Both of us, I think.
Oh, jeez, yeah. Sing from
Let's start a whole other podcast. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, I remember I worked in a TV production company for like 2.5 years, and I loved it. And I worked with 2 guys who were just like like older brothers to me. Like they were just so nice and so understanding and just class. And I used to meet a lot of people through various shoots we'd go on and stuff. And I remember people always asking, like, do you have any horror stories? And I was like, I've never met a person in telly that wasn't like just so lovely. But there was 2 that fully traumatized me that happened. And one of them was, I was working, I actually just won't say the shoot because the people could be very easily identified, I'd say. But it was one of my first ever jobs, and I had gotten some bad news the day before, and I was in a bad way, but I was like, fuck it, it's like, this is a big job for me. I'm going to go and just try my best. So I was going, and I kept like going to the bathroom to take like a couple of minutes to compose myself. And I came out, and like one of the production managers was like screaming at me, like, where have you been? I was like, I was on the toilet. And she was just like, what are you doing on the toilet? You don't have time to be on the toilet, like fully screaming at me. But then I was like, that's so weird. Like, why is she shouting at me? And I turned around, and it was because like the bosses of the company had walked in, and she was trying to like throw her weight around in front of them. But like when you're in a kind of fragile state and people are screaming at you, it is a bit traumatizing. Like, and then I was lucky I had a good friend of ours working on that show with me who's actually Fionnuala's cousin. So he was there and he talked me down, and I was all okay. And then a few years later, I worked with a guy who was just like the worst type of man that people describe, that like thinks women are there to serve him. And even though like he was hired by the company I was working for, but like he saw me very much as his like, or he was my superior. And we had a kind of moment where he screamed in my face for not getting him a coffee one day, and he kind of broke me a bit. But you know, you kind of spot those people early on and you avoid them, and you just do as little as possible to ruffle their feathers and just hope you get through the job. What
cousin of mine were you working with?
Emmett.
Oh yes, sorry. Yeah. I was like, who?
On a personal note, I never fucking said that to me.
I was just like,
No, it's a good boy.
Yeah, I feel like you guys have probably done this properly where yous were really respectful and like, you know, take these opportunities and run with them and doing it probably in the best way possible. Whether I always talk about I've been really lucky, like with some of the wee bits and bobs I've been able to like I did graph for them as well, like, but I just get way too comfortable, way too quickly with every single person I work with, like with whether they're the top of the company. Like there was okay, so for reference, like this was back in I was like first year of college, but I was doing this kind of part of this like Royal Television Society. They do like awards and stuff, like, and it was
it's very fancy.
Oh yeah, it sounds very like fancy, but I didn't fucking know what it was anyways. I was just being like blah blah blah, like I'll apply to this. Next thing they'll let me on, there's been like, okay, grand, what do we do? Literally you just do like workshops, whatever, like this. But one of the perks is you get avoided to like avoided. You get avoiding me now. You get invited to like the program awards. So like they're in Belfast, whatever, like this, but like they would have like, it was like when they were last going on, like the Dairy Girls were at them. It was like, you know, Vogue Williams was like hosting stuff like this.
Maybe kind of like the IFTAs.
Yeah, literally. But like maybe in the wee bastard that I am, I just get way too comfortable like meeting people, and I'm just like everybody's on the same level to the point where this was like after drinks and stuff like this, like me, you know, literally supposed to be out here trying to network and, you know, be like everybody else, you know, you're just trying to do your best, put out your best like impression. You're just like, you know, I want to work for these people. I swear I must have got blacklisted from half the ones on that line alone, because I remember these ones were all chatting away to this like an MD of like somebody that was doing like a Disney show at the time, and I just wandered over and be like, already like fucking like free Prosecco like running through my veins, and like he was just being really polite and turn around and be like, oh, I'm just popped to the bar here, anybody want anything? Everybody's super polite, like, do you want anything? No. Want anything? No. Me, been there in the circle about 2 minutes, I'd say. Yeah, I'll take like Corona and like vodka Coke, like if you had scored or something like this. And like it wasn't until afterwards, but like I've always said this with anybody that I've worked with, like if different production jobs or stuff like this, I feel like I'm just like I think I need to take a step back and forget that everybody's not just like mates in it. But then at the same time, it's kind of it's worked nicely in some situation, because I feel like nobody haven't really been dicked over too much, because I'm just not aware that there's a hierarchy there. I'm just coming in and being like, oh, what are we doing today? Like, yeah. and either they're talking about
everyone is equal.
Yeah,
capitalism is bad. No one is the boss here.
But also,
you're dead right. It's just the double drinks.
Yeah, you should just avoid drinking with coworkers until very far into your relationship, or
Yes.
if you're at the end of a project.
Somebody should have told me
leave it
that
till
right
the
back
end.
at the start. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's
Connor's just straight in with like, I will have the Corona and the vodka and Coke.
It was an open
Because
bar.
I like to
partly.
mix drinks. Just let them know. Make it clear.
Oh, there's been so many things, but I just always think it's quite funny when other people, you know, have done it properly, and I'm just like, can't really. I just fucked up first time. So
There's no proper way.
So it's like,
Must be nice, guys. Must be nice.
Well, they didn't get like, you know, any kind of censored version. They just got the full throttle and be like, well, what's happening? And be like, yeah, where are you from? And I was like, do you know what I mean? Just, I think it's just back to me being absolutely like shameless. I mean, same with this, do you know what I mean? It works out in my favor because then it means, I mean, I get to talk to people like you then because I just shamelessly, you know, I'm not contacting Warner. I'm literally like DMing people straight on Instagram being like, chat to me now, come on.
You have to be shameless in this industry.
No, you do. You do.
But I mean, I suppose from all of this, like, and all things that you've done, like, what is there left? Like, what's the future hold for Bangwagons? What's it hold for you guys? Like, in your own rights, like, are there any big goals that you want to achieve that you haven't yet? Because, I mean, as I said, bucket list seems just being ticked straight off. Like, it's just, you've just been doing so fucking good. Like, so I don't know if there's anything left that you. Maybe this is really like pessimistic. Like what left is there? You about to wrap it up? But I'm sure you have big plans. Do you, sir?
I think it's come at a funny time because for me anyway, the like goal was 1 million downloads, and we've just hit that. So I haven't really like reassessed our goals. Like first it was like, let's do a live show. I'd love to sell out a live show, and we've done it. And then it's like, let's just keep pushing the marker for ourselves. So probably like just like I just love to do the live shows. I'd love to sell out Vicar Street. That's probably like a much bigger goal that we'll have to work towards now. Because the downloads, once we've hit 1 million, I don't think it matters anymore. I want us to get matching tattoos as well, but that's a goal I'm gonna have to work towards too.
Bríd, that's not a goal. That's just
a goal. That's a personal goal. I want me, Fionnuala, and Shane. It's me, Fionnuala, and Shane. I want us to get matching tattoos.
Cowboy hats. I'd be the same. Vicar Street would be one for me. We've talked about festivals as well. Whenever the hell festivals can happen, that's definitely would be number one on our list. But like, you know, I'm not a very goal oriented person. I'm just like, I really like enjoying the process. If we stayed like this for the rest of our lives, I'd be happy because we have such a nice community of people, and I work with like my best friend, and we make a decent amount of money.
I was like, who is that?
Who?
Emmett?
Shane. Like, I can't really ask for much more than that, you know. But yeah, like I'm itching to get back live. Same as Bríd.
And I suppose if the universe answers back, I mean, Davina, if you're listening, come on.
Yeah, if
the
she's
girls
willing
are
to.
waiting.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. For sure.
No, here, guys, honestly, like, I just can't thank you enough for coming on to the podcast. Honestly, this, like, I'd say this for every single guest I come on, like, that comes on, but, like, genuinely, I've been listening to you guys, so it always really is, like, a treat whenever. I mean, same for yourselves. You start out this thing as a passion project, but when you get to talk to people that you're genuinely interested in, you feel like you already know from engaging with their work and their content, it kind of makes it all worthwhile. And yeah, no, so just thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Thanks so much for having us on. We really appreciate
anytime.
it.
We love talking about ourselves.
Yeah, truly.
And I mean, and if people want to find out, I mean, again, rare occasion that they find like yous from come through me, where can they hear you talking about yourselves and everything else, Bandwagon, all your personal stuff? What is the go-to places?
We're Bandwagons on all podcast platforms, and then social media, we're at Bandwagons Podcast on all good social media platforms.
Sorry, didn't mean to laugh there. It just sounded like very like.
Yeah, what's so funny, Connor?
We're Bandwagons.
We're Bandwagons. So people can't see, but I'm nonchalantly like hand behind the head. We are Bandwagons in mind, body, and spirit.
And I mean, you can plug your own personal ones if you want. But I mean, it's all linked through there as well, I guess. Anyway, it's like fuck it. But yeah, no, honestly, thank you guys so much for coming on to an episode of Finnterviews. And Paddy's Day tomorrow, so happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, thanks so much.
Oh, happy St. Patrick's Day.
My favourite holiday.
Truly, yeah. What a time. What a time.
What time to be alive. God, yeah. This is my St. Patrick's Day special. There we go. All right, guys. Well, here, have a lovely evening. And yeah, chat to you later. All right. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Finnterviews. Oh, what a pleasure it was to be able to speak with Bríd and Fionnuala on that. Do remember, if you are a fan of the podcast and you want to support everything that goes into Finnterviews, please do remember to give us a like, share, subscribe, and a 5-star rating on whenever listen platform you're on. Honestly, all that stuff really does help. And you can also find me on socials. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and everything else. Yeah, just type in Finnterviews online and you'll find me there. And you can get in touch and let me know who you would like to hear on the podcast next. Until next time, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll chat to you later. Bye.